is another beautiful Saturday morning, Ken.
Holy, yeah, is it ever nice?
Yeah, this is tremendous weather we're having, and gets everybody excited. I'm sure excited.
Yeah.
About spring right around the corner, and blue skies and not too chilly. It's quite pleasant.
I sure hope we don't get a late blast, but we did sort of get a weird blast where it was so mild all winter, and then all of a sudden we got the minus 20, which only lasted for about 4 days or whatever, off and on, but that's enough to cause some damage. And then, here we are. Back nice and toasty warm and comfortable, and highs of 6 or 7 degrees coming up, and a little bit of frost at night. But I can recall in the past minus 8s, minus 9s in early April. So that's
don't tell me that
at night, not in the daytime.
What a bummer.
Oh, okay. I can remember. Well, anytime you're growing a crop. That's when the temperatures are going to be really, really cold. Anything to throw a little challenge at you.
Last year I uncovered my banana, and 2 days later it went right down again. But fortunately it was okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the tips and plants of the week.
All righty.
Well, my tip of the week is perfect weather to do some early yard cleanup. Ooh. However, there's always a however or a but.
Yep.
As Ken has said many times, tiptoe through the tulips to avoid damaging emerging perennials. This is when you can really hurt things if you start stomping through the garden.
Yep.
So you don't stomp through the tulips, you tiptoe through the tulips.
That's right.
And my plant of the week is the lowly mossy saxifrage, which is really looking good in my little new rockery. It's all the little saxifrage are coming up so nicely and almost ready to bloom.
I bet they love this weather.
Yep.
Alrighty, I also have a tip and a plant. My tip of the week is get your seeds early. Get out, get to the garden centers, get to your local hardware stores, wherever they sell seeds, and get your selections while the getting's good. And that way you'll make sure you get everything that you need for the year. And also just a reminder that today at 3 o'clock we're having our vegetable gardening know-how class. It's coming up at 3 o'clock today. Just go to growercoach.com. You can sign up. And we'll send you the link, and you're good to go. It's a webinar, so you can enjoy it from home. And my plant of the week this week is the Hamamelis mollis, or the witch hazel. And I know we've talked a little bit about it in the past, the last couple of weeks. It's blooming in areas like in Vancouver. I'm sure it's even blooming here. But if you have a witch hazel in your yard, give us a witch hazel report, give us a call, and let us know if it bloomed, if it got zapped by that cold snap, or if it's in bloom now. It'd be just interesting to know. All right, that's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com.
Well, here we are. This is spring just around the corner here, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And you can tell, I just got a text from Alan Reed at Hazeldale Orchards.
Oh, yeah.
They're gearing up. Everybody's gearing up, got itchy feet and whatever. And,
yeah,
I was able to go over and help a gentleman yesterday with some young, he's got a block of young peach trees, and they haven't been touched pretty much since they were put in. So they're almost 3 years old. So they need to be, shaped and crowned out and, just. I really enjoyed it because, it's always fun when you go to an untouched tree.
Oh, yeah.
Hasn't been touched.
It's much easier, actually, to work with.
Yeah.
Because the trees know how to grow. You don't have to tell them. But with a fruit tree, it's certainly totally different than an ornamental tree when it comes to pruning. That's for sure.
It is. And Dr. Shigo would really be upset. Well, he was upset when he walked through orchards. That's the one area where he said, I don't even like to watch what they do in orchards because he was such a perfectionist as far as the health of the tree and the watching where you made your cuts just to make sure that the tree maintained its natural shape. And if you let fruit trees maintain their natural shape, you're not going to get the fruit.
No.
And you're not going to get the ease of, you can't get at
picking and spraying and all that stuff. Yeah.
It's a specialized deal.
You betcha.
The Stokes seeds, it was fascinating yesterday. I mean, I buy from Stokes all the time. And I wondered why my Stokes seeds were, I ordered about 2 weeks ago my Stokes onions and things like that because I had that failure, And I've been wondering why normally within a week or 10 days they're here, right?
Right.
Well, I got this letter from them, email saying that because of COVID and whatnot, and they're having to space their employees out, all their seed sorters and all the packaging, everything has to be in order to maintain the business and be allowed to open. They have to separate their employees. They've had to revamp the whole, the whole methodology of getting those seeds out to people.
Right.
So it was just fascinating. One of the Stokes emails that I got was in regards to when to start seeds. And in one breath, they're saying you can start this and this and this right now. This is a time to get them going. And then in the next breath, they're saying, please be patient because your seed order might take 2 to 4 weeks in getting to you.
Yeah.
So it was kind of odd, bit of a catch-22 or whatever you want to call it there.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is ready to go. March and April are perfect time to start seeds indoors, and Stokes is right there trying to help us do that. They're actually a very good company. Like I say, unfortunately, with the regulations now and restrictions, they can't get their seed orders out as fast as they normally do.
Did you get any more of that heat-resistant radish?
Yes. Well, I've got. Yeah.
You still have some of the seed for it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good variety. Do you remember the name of it off?
I don't remember the name of it, but I can certainly get that to you, Ken.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I appreciate that. Definitely in the Okanagan here, you should be looking at your plants and your varieties and make sure that you have that sort of heat-tolerant aspect to them. I've been reading up on celery. I want to grow quite a bit of celery this year because we consume a lot of it. And might as well. And so I've learned that it's definitely all about the variety. So I've got a variety. I think it's called the Constantinople, I think. And
there was a huge celery industry here for years. I remember there was a big flat deck truck that had Okanagan celery producers on the side of it, and big old Chevy truck, and they used to just bins and bins of celery to the marketplace. It's quite fascinating what has happened in the Okanagan over the years and what's been grown and what hasn't, how things have changed. There's a lot more grapes now going in than apples and pears and things. It's a changing world out there. 250-862-2525 to get through to Ken and I today. And it's a beautiful day to get out in the garden and do a little bit of cleanup. That's my tip of the week. Should get out there and be careful where you step. That's very important.
But getting out early, as you were saying, is one of the things is before things start to push too much. Like get out there and But what I do on the other hand is when I have perennial gardens where I have lots of things shooting up, I try to always have stepping stones. And I put those stepping stones out right away, either at the beginning of the process, or like when the garden is initiated, or it is something that I add in when the plants are actually actively growing, so I can see where they are and I can put the appropriate stepping stones, and those are my targets for getting in to do maintenance.
Perfect, Ken. We've got the phone is ringing now, which is very good. We love to hear from you folks. And on the line, we have Sally. Good morning, Sally.
Good morning. We were poking around in the garden yesterday, and it's quite exciting. Heuchera. My heuchera has come through the winter, but it's looking really ratty. Do I cut it back, or do I just leave it?
You can trim it back. You can cut it back nicely. One thing, and Ken alerted me to this, some species, some types of heuchera are quite subject to the weevil damage. Weevil eating the larva eating the roots and the crown of the heuchera. Some varieties, some are fairly resistant, it seems, but others seem to be.
Depends how many pine trees you have around.
Is that what it is? The pine?
Yeah, the conifers where the weevils. I don't know. I think they just overwinter in those areas, but they seem to hang out wherever there's lots of sort of wild areas.
But I mean, something to consider. So you want to, if your heuchera do not recover the way they should, because if you trim them back, they should just.
And remember that those little stems. So on a heuchera, it's got a little short, stubby stem that shoots up, and generally you don't cut those stems off. Generally,
okay, because the leaves, it looks like it did in the fall, but some of the leaves are kind of gray and have sort of had weather damage, I guess.
Definitely clean them up for sure.
Okay, Okay, and secondly, rosemary. We've got rosemary in two areas. One's come through just beautifully. I'm astounded, actually. Mm-hmm. And the other one is looking a bit rough. Could I cut the rosemary back? The one that's looking difficult?
Yeah, I think I would leave them as long as I could until I see the actual growth coming on. Because these plants, like, normally they don't survive the winters here. So normally they would just die. But it can make a difference if one is in a spot where maybe the frost drains better or something, and it would be better off. But I would leave them as long as I could.
Through last year.
Oh, good.
And anyway, okay. Well, I'll just leave them.
Yeah, and then once they start to grow and you see that they've proven that they've survived, then you can go in and snip out the dead stuff. And so the key is that all the parts of the plant are storing sugars and things that they need to survive. So by cutting pieces off, you're literally removing some of that storage. Mm-hmm. And so I would let them go as long as I could until I actually see response. Because I have seen them come through the winters where they just look perfect and they were just beautiful. And then in the middle of May, they just collapsed as soon as the heat came. Mm-hmm. So that was the roots kind of got damaged by the cold. So, but this year we didn't have much cold. So maybe you'll be just awesome.
Maybe I'll be lucky.
Yeah.
Sally, thank you for the call. Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
We're going to take a short break now. We got Eric waiting to get on the air, and we welcome Eric as soon as we come back with more AM 1150 Garden. We are back with you, and we're back as well with Eric. Good morning, Eric. Thanks for calling.
Morning, Ken. Don, how's it going today?
Great.
Good, thanks.
Beautiful day. Spring around the corner.
Yeah. Get the fishing rod out, Eric.
Yeah, I just got a grape clipping I took out in the fall, and I put in water for a while. It's still in water, but now it got long roots. When's the best time to put it outside? Can you put it in a pot? And
You must have a green thumb, Eric. I mean, that's pretty good, Ken, wouldn't you say?
I don't know, but
it's got roots. It's got white roots on it, eh?
Yep, long. Like I don't know.
Long, and it's indoors.
Indoors in water. Yeah.
And so you got some top.
It's already blooming. It's already green. The leaves are green.
Well, there you go. So as soon as you have green leaves, you got to wait for the frost to be gone.
Yeah.
So now you're pushing right into May, and you got to watch in May because we've had frost right till June 5th from time to time.
That's true. Remember that.
And because they're already leafed out, they'll be potentially. Well, it's just because it's going from inside out. But what you'll do, obviously, is you'll pot it up into a nice pot, like a 2-gallon pot or something. And you'll probably start at some point moving it in and out, putting it out in the day, bringing it in at night, just protect it from the hard frost. Right. And that way it gets used to the sunlight and the air movement and all that. And then and it will harden up, like it'll become more sturdy. But watch the grapevines that are happening like in the orchards and stuff, and they're quite late to leaf out. And Don, I don't know if you can add to that, but
I would suggest, first of all, too, Eric, make sure you use good, clean, new potting soil for that grape because they are subject. I've grown a lot of grapes, and they are subject to a root rot if they're if they're exposed to pathogens, and if you use old soil, you're going to expose them to pathogens. So use new soil and
clean pot.
Clean pot, and when you put it in the new pot, water it, soak it, so it doesn't think it's moved from water into dry dirt.
Yeah,
you want to give it that buffer zone between. I just think it's amazing that you've done what you've done. I've never tried that before.
Anyway, we've had that. Well, we've had that variety for a while. We make our own wine.
Yeah.
And you can't get that variety here anywhere except that one place up by Swamp Road.
Okay. So, do you know the variety?
It's Delaware.
Oh, Delaware. That's a great old variety.
We had a prize at the Armstrong Fair for our best wines.
Oh, great on. That's like Delaware is kind of a reddish.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a cross between Delaware and something else that created.
Very old variety. I know people that had grape plants and vineyards. They said, "Yeah, I don't remember that way back when."
I think it was Delaware and Himrod. They changed. They crossed to make the one I have, Einset.
Oh. So this is actually a Labrusca grape, a North American.
Yeah, it is Labrusca. Yeah.
So North
Delaware.
American.
Delaware,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it is.
And Delaware is semi-seedless too, isn't it?
It's got small seeds.
Yeah, small seeds.
Yeah,
I say
not really
semi-seedless. In other words, you don't have the big hunky seeds in there. Yeah.
No. But man, is it ever juicy and sweet? Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful.
So it was actually, I believe, considered a table grape back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But you're making wine out of it and successfully getting prizes. Well, that's pretty good.
Oh, it's the sweetness like you wouldn't believe, and it's so fruity. The wine tastes like just like the juice.
You're making Ken and I drool here. We're drooling.
Like when you pot it, I guess you put small rocks in the bottom, let it drain out, or
Holes in the bottom with good clean potting, so you don't have to put rocks in there.
no rocks in it.
No.
Okay.
No, the new potting soils are they're all set up to drain properly, and if you get a pot that has proper holes in it, like we just would use nursery pots.
Yeah, the green ones, whatever.
Yeah,
Well,
or black ones. Yeah.
black or green,
the clay ones, whatever. Yeah.
Well, you could use a clay pot, but the thing is, Eric, that's more for decorative. I would just use a regular 2-gallon or
nursery pot,
one or 2-gallon black nursery pot.
Yeah.
And the holes you'll see on a lot of those pots are on the sides rather than on the bottom, which
That's
gives
true.
you really good drainage.
Yeah. Okay.
We've had our wine for 2 or 3 years now, and it's still good for homemade wine. So I'm happy about that.
Well, Eric, you're in a rare air there to making good homemade wine. I can tell you over the time, and I'll share this with you publicly. And I apologize to anybody who's listening that gave me wine over the years. But when you're visiting people in their yards and doing anything, often they want to give you some of their wine.
Oh yeah.
So I get this bottle of wine and I bring it home. Donna and I about 95% of it we call sink wine.
Ooh, yeah, musty flavor.
Like, it's got to go down the sink. It's unfortunately, I'm saying that in because I'm commending you winning prizes with your homemade.
It's not
wine.
easy.
Yeah, well, like it was like trial and error. It's been about 5-6 years. We did something wrong. We've written everything down on a piece of paper, and each year we have information from other people. Yeah. Like, did you do this? Did you do that? I know. We tried this way. Tried that way, and we tried, and sure enough.
It's science, it's chemistry, it's a lot of things.
Came true.
Yeah, good for you, Eric.
Trial and error, you bet.
Well, that's good.
That's the best thing. Good. Thanks talking to you.
Okay, buddy.
Thanks, Eric. Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Delaware. Isn't that something that comes out of the woodwork? I haven't heard of Delaware grapes for so long, and I don't see them on the market anymore.
No, it's interesting. I remember just when I very first started at Burnett's Nurseries, and that was in probably was the fall of '86, but it would have been like early '87. And one of the things we had to do is sort through all the grapes and get them out of storage and put them out, and all the different varieties. Like, it was unbelievable, and a lot of them were Labrusca varieties, and like the Muscatel, that one, it's
Golden
hard
Muscat,
to you can't. I don't think you even get those anymore.
Golden Muscat was the name of one. Yeah. Oh, there was tons of them. And then back in the days in the '60s, Ken, when the grape industry, the wine industry was just burgeoning here in the Okanagan. Yeah. There was only 2 or 3 wineries, Kelowna Wines and possibly Grey Monk. I'm not sure. A few of the early ones were alive. Mm-hmm. And a fellow by the name of Baz Jennings had a vineyard, and he brought in a whack of grape cuttings for us to grow. And they were some of the numbered grapes from Summerland. And some of the numbers, 9549 was one of them. 9110 was another one. I can't remember any of the others, but there was about 4 or 5 numbered grapes. They were just no name on them, just numbers. And they maybe some of the folks out there that might be listening to the radio show today, the garden show, might remember some of those numbers. 9549.
But those are, and those, who knows if
where are they?
They're,
they might have not even been viable.
Pinot Gris or Rieslings or whatever they are.
The vinifera's have kind of taken over that.
But remember that too, that that they never used to sell many, or they did. Let's say the wineries didn't used to grow many red grapes like Cabernets and whatnot, because you had to be right at the south of the Okanagan. But now they're growing them all the way up to I think they have a vineyard up in Salmon Arm, I think, that has red grapes. So, but those varieties maybe they're hybridized or whatever, but they seem to be doing very well. And I mean, wow, they produce a beautiful wine, that's for sure. But I think now, I haven't been really imbibing much in wines for the past couple of years, but I did for quite a while. And I really love the Okanagan wines. Like I tried wines from everywhere. Like when you become, when you really enjoy wines, you're tasting this and tasting that. Oh man, the best that I ever found were always Okanagan wines. Yeah. There's some just fabulous. Yeah,
first class.
You betcha.
Right. We are going to take a short break, and after that, we've got our buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Dan is on the line, and he's going to be talking about one of the Scottish botanists. Which is exciting for us. We're looking forward to that. Dan Bruce coming up after the break. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden. Happy gardeners, the flower pot men, Don and Ken, the flower pot men, and now we have another flower pot man coming on. Dan Bruce, good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Don and Ken.
Good morning.
Pot. You remember that show, Dan, for coming from England? Bill and Ben, flower pot men.
I can remember it, but not as a show. I remember it as a comic strip.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go.
And then
I was 16 years old before I saw my first television.
Oh.
And when I saw it, I looked across the room at it and looked at it for about 4 or 5 minutes and said, yeah, whatever.
Haven't looked back since.
And you haven't looked at a television since. Who's on board today? Who's on the ship today?
Well, one of the things about working in a museum, and the Fintry is no exception, when you start to look into things, then other things attract your attention. So you suffer from deliberate adult attention deficiency syndrome, and it's not a problem. I love it.
Distractions abound.
So we're deviating today to consider Sarah Thin, who whose family actually have a slight connection to the Tulameen area of British Columbia, but I'll leave that for later. She married William Amherst, who in 1816, when he was Lord Amherst, was sent by King George III to China as potentially as the British ambassador to the court of China. The Emperor Jiajing was on the throne, one of China's more forward-looking emperors. Anyway, Sarah, the Countess Amherst, went with him, and she was interested in a lot of things, and plants and birds and gardens and architecture and all that were certainly up her alley. We know quite a bit about Lord Amherst's arrival in China, and there's the school history books will tell you that he was not well received at the imperial court because, in quotes, he refused to perform the kowtow. Well, in fact, he didn't refuse. He said he would indeed perform the kowtow in front of the Chinese emperor because that was the accepted Chinese custom, and he had no problem with that. But his requirement was that a Chinese official of equal rank to himself at the same time perform the kowtow in front of a portrait of George III.
Oh.
That was refused.
Now
So that puts a whole different aspect on.
we've got to have an explanation of what a kowtow is. But however, Dan, we've got a couple of calls coming in here, so we're gonna do that. Help them, and you just stay on the line or stay listen to the questions and answers. If you have something to say about that, great.
Okay.
But I'll tell you,
here.
we're carrying on with the kowtowing as once we come back with more Dan Bruce. Now we're going to go to the phone lines and talk to Pat. Good morning, Pat.
Hi, Ken and Dawn.
Good morning.
I need to ask you questions. I have a couple of questions. One is about pruning my Saskatoons, which are way too tall because we have to get on a ladder to pick. I know now is probably the best time to prune them, yes? No?
You can prune Saskatoons now. I mean, they're pretty tough. The thing is, they do want to maintain some kind of a form there, but the main thing is just don't go in there and top them. You want to go down deep. It's called drop pruning or whatever, and maintaining the taper. Selective pruning. Go down and cut deep cuts and to outward-facing branches and whatnot, rather than just lopping them off. That's what I don't want to see you do, because if you do that, you're going to end up with all that sucker growth or water sprout growth on top, and it's going to basically, it'll shorten it. But
they only bloom on last year's growth, right? So the more you cut off, the less you get this year.
Yeah.
Okay. So go into the base of the plant and maybe take out...
Not necessarily maybe the base, but if you, you might want to... It's kind of a little bit difficult to explain too much over the phone in detail. If you want to give Ken or I or both of us an email, send a picture of your plant as it is, and then we can kind of tell you. Yes, sometimes you can go right down into the base and take some of those older wood out. If it's quite bushy down there, you could probably do that. But you have to be, a little bit selective and careful.
So you're preserving the stuff that's at the height that's comfortable for picking, right? So that's the deal. And
my husband doesn't have ladders tall enough anymore to get to the top. So
it's getting to be big. Yeah, well,
but cutting in the spring is when they're going to rejuvenate, and it's going to send out more growth for the next year. So for sure, you'll encourage some. I would imagine some of these larger ones you could cut down to maybe a 3 foot or 4 foot height, and then allow them to shoot up again and get you in that sort of 6 foot range for fruit.
But don't take everything off, or I won't have any berries at all.
Anything you can reach, don't cut it.
Yeah.
That's one thing I often say with fruit tree pruning too, is that, if you can reach it, like that's your most valuable stuff. Don't cut it. Only cut the stuff you can't reach.
Gotcha.
There you go.
Remove it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good advice.
Mm-hmm.
I have a number of blueberry bushes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 6.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
A couple do really well, and the other ones struggle, and it's probably because of Glenmore clay soil. But
they don't like clay.
Nope. So I've been amending the soil over the years, but can you recommend a variety? And I'm not saying to adapt to clay soil, but
there's two basic
variety?
groups. There are two basic groups of blueberries. There's the high bush blueberry, which things like blue crop and rankokaz and other blue ray and a number of those that have blue in the name. And then, of course, there's the hardy shorter ones that actually are prairie hardy, and you might want to try some of those. They don't have as big a berry, but they have a delicious a blueberry on them. Any particular variety that's going to be better for you, it's hard to say, except that blue crop is the berry of choice for growers. Most growers, even in the Okanagan, grow blue crop.
Yeah, it's more adaptable to our soil conditions, and because they're mostly acid lovers, and our soil here is like pure limestone, so it's really hard to adjust the pH. But so let's say on the high bush ones, get a blue crop. If you're going to get the low bush ones, you can pretty much use any of them and try different ones. And then when you have success with one, because it's definitely a varietal thing, because I grew, I think, 16 different varieties in different rows to see which ones I had success with, and literally all of them died except for these shorter bush ones, which survived, and one blue crop that I had. But I had all these different varieties, and I was trying them out to see And this is with soil acidification and all that stuff, but our conditions are just way too alkaline. But again, if I stuck with those shorties, the little short, low bush ones, and they usually have the name North in their name. They'll say Northern
or something like that.
Yes, yeah. And those ones are usually much better.
Yep.
That's probably the one and only one that really, really performs.
There you go.
I have.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pat,
okay.
Thank you very much for the call.
Thanks, gentlemen. Bye.
You betcha.
Thanks
Take care.
for calling. Bye-bye.
Okay, we're going to get back to Dan and talking about Sarah Amherst, the gal that is, the kowtowing. What's a kowtow?
Kowtow is a sort of ceremonial prostration in front of the Chinese emperor. And it was actually, for a young man, it's quite simple. You stand in front of the throne, go down on your knees, bow to your forehead to the ground 3 times, stand up, repeat, and repeat a 3rd time.
Right, but for me, I might break something.
Yes, indeed.
That's your problem.
Yes, indeed.
There you go.
You don't do it, they might break something.
So, fascinating story. Carry on, Dan.
So, anyway, when all of this sort of political court stuff was going on, the Countess Amherst was eyeballing Chinese gardens. And she got along very well with the mandarins that were around who had large estates, who had beautiful gardens, some of them centuries old, and she collected plants.
Okay.
Not out of the wild like George Forrest and Gillian Prance and those guys. She got them from gardens. And it was quite a genteel thing when she saw something she liked. The Chinese were very willing to oblige her and provided her with potted specimens.
Oh, good. I thought she was a plant stealer.
No.
I mean, we've all stolen a few plants. Have you? I bet you have, too.
I would never admit anything like that. But, yes, you're right. But the fact that somebody goes and collects something does not necessarily mean that they've stolen it.
No, that's right. That's right.
And there's a Clematis montana is it's not really hardy here in the Okanagan. It certainly is available in Vancouver. That's one of the species that she brought into cultivation.
Wow.
That's a beauty.
Dan, we've got about a minute before we have to take a break here.
One of the most spectacular tropical trees is named Amherstia in her honor. And it is commonly known as the pride of Burma.
Okay, and Amherstia is it a deciduous tree? It's not hardy here.
No, it's a tropical tree.
Tropical tree. Oh, okay.
Amherstia nobilis, the pride of Burma, believed to be extinct in the wild. So it's only preserved in botanic gardens.
Wow.
But in my youth, when we lived in Jamaica, we actually had one in the garden.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, right. And you had a vanilla orchid too, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I know. You were telling me because I got one in the greenhouse. Dan, we got to run. We got to take a short break here. If you'd like, you can just stay on the line and finish up your story on Sarah Amherst when we come back.
I would. Yes, that's
okay.
fine.
A quickie. Okay. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Okie dokie. Now we're going to go back to Dan Bruce for a moment or two just to have him finish his story on this elusive Sarah. She's quite the gal I'm getting.
Yes, she is.
Yep.
Well, the tropical tree Amherstia is indeed a spectacular thing. And of course, in the 19th century in England, there were some gardeners who had serious money. One of them was the Duke of Devonshire. And he absolutely had to have an Amherstia.
Aha.
So
yeah.
at colossal expense and difficulty, he commissioned his gardener to create a greenhouse.
To hold this thing.
Yes.
Okay.
And Joseph Paxton was the gardener.
Oh my God!
A stroke of genius, because Paxton's work was so successful that he not only was able to create the greenhouse to grow the Amherstia, but he was then commissioned, believe it or not, by the government to create the Crystal Palace.
Yeah, that's right. Paxton.
The greatest greenhouse that's ever been created.
Wow. Except for the one at 2484 Rhonda Crescent in my backyard.
Well, yes, I was sort of keeping that one in reserve because nothing can possibly touch that.
No. Dan, we're...
Anyway, to just end up here, believe it or not, there's a Crystal Palace connection to Lake Country because the Wentworth brothers of Wentworth cabin fame, whose descendants still live here, they were employed, I believe, as electricians in the Crystal Palace before it burnt to the ground in 1936, I think it was.
Wow.
Wow.
That's very cool.
Anyway, that one thing leads to another, and once you start on a track, you never know where you're going to end up.
And you know what, Dan? These historical journeys are fabulous, and we appreciate you coming on each week doing this for us. Sarah Amherst, do you know who's next?
I'm going to keep that one under wraps.
Okay.
I know who it will be.
Yeah, we'll check in with you next week.
But check in with me next week.
You betcha. Thanks,
right.
Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
All right.
Take care, man.
Take care.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
You betcha. Dan Bruce,
very cool.
with all these different people, it really brings it, it brings it alive when Dan talks
see, and
about
that's how we learn new plants, too.
Yeah.
Amherstia nobilis. I'm going to look that one up, and it's a beautiful tree. Actually, I did see a picture of the
I can
flowers.
come and build you a greenhouse to hold it, too.
Hey, sounds like a plan.
We got Maxine on the line. Good morning, Maxine.
Good morning. I wanted to wish Ken a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, Maxine. That's lovely.
So here's the scoop. I'm going through my birthday book for the column.
Yeah.
And, of course, there's these 29th.
I know.
And I thought, and one lady called me. She said, well, you can put it in. It's my 29th day, but you can put it 28, 29. I thought, okay, what do you put it? But you should say the 29, but I'm sure. Then I thought, well, are a lot of people going to call me and say, well, that was kind of dumb. But guess what? Nobody called me.
It's a difficult thing to choose, actually. Like over the years, I actually, most of the time, I just sort of ignore it when it's not the 29th because it's not really my birthday. So I just sort of ignore it. But of course, friends and family and everybody, they either do it on the 28th or the 1st. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So Maxine, Ken is only 12 years old.
Oh, I know, but even so, we should acknowledge it.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, regardless whether you're 12 or, well, I won't say.
Yeah.
But anyway, we should. But I think it's a cool day to have a birthday, and I tried to put as many of the 29th as I could in. So I just thought, I'll just give you a quick call.
And
That's awesome.
You're such a pro, Maxine, because all week long I've been thinking about it's Ken's birthday coming up, and I was going to make a big deal of it. I forgot all about it. So thank you for your.
And I'm trying to keep it all under cover,
well,
right? But
excuse me, there's no way when anybody's going to get their birthday not printed. And furthermore, now, see, Don, you did make it a big deal because you have the show.
there you go.
Perfect.
Okay, guys.
All right.
Have a good day.
Take care, Maxine.
Thanks, Maxine.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. There you go. Isn't that nice?
That was very good of her to do that. And seriously, Ken, you think I'm lying to you, but I wasn't. I was thinking all week long, I was thinking, it's Ken's birthday coming up this weekend. I'm going to recognize it.
Well,
and, I didn't recognize it, but I'll tell you
what. It's right at midnight on Sunday night, right? When the clock strikes midnight, and then it flicks to the 1st. It's right there. It's just right between
a millisecond.
It's a millisecond. So if you don't get your birthday wishes in, then it's like, well,
You're a leap baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a leap
Yeah.
baby. Hey,
Not that many of us out there, yeah.
yeah, I had so many phone calls this week after Tiger had his accident,
Yeah.
And my good buddy and brother-in-law, Don Stoltz, said to me, he says, Tiger Woods has always been a great putter, but his driving needs improving.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. And I said, did you make that up? He says, yeah. I said, well, that's pretty good. Okay.
There you go.
Well, we're getting close to break time. You just get this number down, 250-862-2525, to get in touch with Ken and I today on the Garden Show, on the AM 1150 Garden Show. I have to tell you, this is, in total, 1,784 shows, 1,112 shows on this station alone.
Yep.
And with the prior shows that we did prior to coming to this station, it was like total of 1,782. Started in 1983 and been going all those years. And we really enjoy coming on Saturday mornings and chatting gardening. And boy, this weather is just getting the juices flowing.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a good one.
The juices are flowing, and I'm going to get more seeds in. I'm waiting to get my new onion seeds because I had that crop failure. Well, it's not total failure, but I planted 500 seeds, and I might have 100.
Yeah,
and, because they came up and then went. But I tell you, one of the things that they said in Stokes right off the bat, and I kind of went and read a little bit. Seedlings need to germinate warm and grow cool.
Yep.
Germinate warm, grow cool. And I didn't take those onions off the heat pad.
Oh, yeah.
And onions in particular want to grow cool.
Yep, they want to be actually cold almost.
Yep, same with lettuce. I've got my lettuce up nicely now, and I'm going to put them in my little eave trough planters.
Yeah. Those cold crops, we should talk more about cold crops because they don't like the heat. And, people often say, when do I get started my garden? It's like, well, you get out there in February and start, seeding. And, a lot of that's where a cold frame is so beautiful,
I was
right?
just going to
You were going to say that.
I know. The cold frame is better in many cases than a greenhouse. More fruitful, less expensive.
Yeah.
You're not heating, but
and it can literally be a box.
Box, and you can always put one of the little heating pads in there just in case it gets too chilly.
Yeah.
But the cold frame is definitely the way to go. I built a cold frame a few years ago and had some great success in it. And especially the cold frame really works well, especially if you've got a spot on the south side of the house, sort of right up against the house, and in particular if there's a window and you can crack the window open, let a little heat in once in a while, so you can get your stuff going early. We're going to take that break, 9:00 break, because that's what we have to do. And Ken and I will be back with more AM 1150 Garden. Well, here we are, back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning, and Ken and I both want to remind you that the Okanagan Master Gardeners run the Seedy Sunday, coming up Sunday, March the 14th. However, this is a little different this year, so it has to be done virtually. So you've got to get an order in. You can put your order in, and then it's a drive-through thing. They'll come up, masked and everything.
Yep.
Give you your package of seeds, and you pay for. I think you pay for it online. You don't.
I'm pretty sure it's all prepaid.
Yeah, something like that. But you got to get your order in by March the 7th. Okay.
Yep.
So order by March the 7th. Order your seeds and register for your time for pickup. Ordering online gives you first choice of available seeds. Please note, we may not be able to guarantee all your choices, but we will do our best to accommodate you. Pre-order drive-through lineup will be posted and enable you to receive your seed orders without exiting your vehicle. So on Sunday, March the 14th, 2021, we also hope... Oh, no, they're not going to have those guys. They can't do it, unfortunately.
Yep.
So it's really cool. So basically, it's Kelowna Seedy Sunday at gmail.com. Kelowna Seedy Sunday at gmail.com if you want to get in touch with them. And you can look up their Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter as well.
There you go. Yeah, lots of good information there, and get your orders in. And I think they get the order in by the 7th, and then the pickup is the following weekend, I think. Isn't that right?
That's right. And you can also go to the website, mgabc.org. That's the Master Gardeners Association of BC, mgabc.org. That's an easy one.
Yep, and it's going to be held right behind the H2O this year, so it's a completely different location. There's the field office there that sits in the middle of the field, literally in behind H2O, before you get to H2O if you're coming from the Kelowna side. And, it's a drive-through. It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, and we may just have a call from Renee to fill us in a little bit more and see how things are going with the CD Sunday coming up, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm also curious about the how the grand opening there at the Greenery happened there on Friday. Oh. I heard it was pretty busy. I could understand. Mostly all about tropical plants, of course. Not we're way early for most bedding plants, but
interesting, Ken. Very interesting how they were able to pinpoint a lovely day to open, because it could have been bad.
It could have been snowing or who knows. Yeah. That was amazing. But I also want to mention that, again, today, growercoach.com, we're having our seminar at 3 o'clock today, webinar that is. It is online, so you don't have to go anywhere. You can just watch from your computer. And sign up is on our website, growercoach.com, and the learning tab up in the left corner, and you can just click in there and register. Today it's all about vegetables, so it's the need to know about vegetable gardening. So if you're going to have some vegetables, you might want to get a tune-up here before the season gets going. So check that out, sign up, and we'll send you a link. And at 3 o'clock today, that's when that happens. And then coming up in the next couple of weeks, there's a bunch more classes. So they're all listed in there. If you see something else you might be interested in, have a look. The fruit tree one is coming up very soon. So, we're just, early March is sort of that ideal fruit tree pruning time. So might be also time for a tune-up on that as well. And lots of other classes coming down the pipes as we go into spring. It's exciting time, and looking forward to it for sure.
Great, Ken. You're doing a great job there. And I just want to say that have you noticed anything in the morning and the afternoon? Days are longer.
Days are longer. I noticed the moon this morning. There was a full moon this morning when I got up.
2 hours and 22 minutes longer than the shortest day in December. 2 hours and 22 minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds like a TV program, doesn't it?
Yeah,
2
it
hours.
does.
This hour has 22 minutes? No, I know. Anyway. So that's really cool. And I just noticed last night, I went out to check my workshop and whatnot, and it was around 6 o'clock or so, after 6. And I noticed something we have coming up now at this time of year and carrying forward right through is a thing called dusk. Like in the winter, it's light out, and you go inside to get a coffee or something, come back outside, and it's dark.
Yeah.
Like
it seems to be faster.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't seem to be. It is.
It is faster. It's a lot faster.
And so I noticed it last night. I called Donna out. I said, Donna, come on. You notice anything? This is called dusk.
Yep.
It's kind of half and half,
Yeah,
and it
lasted
quite
evening.
a while. It was pretty cool. So we're going to keep an eye on that one. It's pretty cool. And Ken, the plants are jumping. I texted you, showed you the greenhouse temperature, 38, 39 degrees. It actually went up into the 40s the other day.
That
in the greenhouse
gets everything just leaping ahead.
They're just, you go in there and they're all smiling.
Yep.
Plants are smiling. They're just enjoying it very much. I've got cucumber plants started. I've got the tomatoes. I've got some nice set coming on my.
How's your orchid cactus collection? Growing like mad yet?
Yeah, it's squirting right up into the ceiling.
Yep.
Of the greenhouse.
That's what I was saying. They're climbers.
There's little rooties on there too.
It's because they're climbers. They want to root in and grow up a tree or something. That's why when you put them outside, you put them down low and let them grow up a post or a beam or something because they're climbers. Yeah. Not all the orchid cactuses, but that particular one is an amazing climber. Right now, I've got five shoots that's come right from like the floor level of my house all the way to the ceiling, and now they're going across the ceiling, and they're actually rooting into the ceiling. So I have to go along and knock them off every once in a while so they don't get rooted. It's an amazing thing, but they just grow like crazy.
I thought maybe if you ever sold your home, that the cactus would have to go with the home.
It might be that case. Yeah, I'm taking cuttings so I can take smaller versions with me. But yeah, what an amazing plant. That's a night flowering orchid cactus.
That's the one.
With a beautiful, big, giant white flower. Spectacular and fragrant too.
Good one. I appreciate it very much. We're going to enjoy that again this summer and have a good. Now I'd like to see the other ones bloom too, because you've got 3 or 4 varieties in that pot.
Yeah, I gave you a full selection.
Full selection.
I think some reds and some. I think there's even one of those the purple red ones that are iridescent. Really
Should I put that into a larger pot then?
I would think that at some point you're going to sort of divide them out, because that one, the
Different
night
habits.
flowering one, is so aggressive.
Yeah.
It just outgrows everything.
Yeah.
So it needs its own home, right?
Okay.
And that'll be something that you could do anytime.
Yeah, I could.
Got
do
lots
that.
of time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I don't have lots of time. I'm a pretty busy guy, but if you want to come and help me,
Help you do it?
you're not a busy guy, of course. Of course you are. You're crazy busy. Crazy busy.
That's the business, isn't it? Yeah.
250-862-2525 to get through to us. Got a lovely email from Judy Shigo. She is Dr. Shigo's daughter, and she's a lovely person. I did meet her in Victoria, and then I met her again when they had the conference here in Kelowna, and it was always a delight to meet her. She's going to visit us on the radio show at some point. She's going to talk about her dad and just his career and what he how he contributed to the arboriculture in North America. He is considered the father of modern arboriculture. He's an amazing guy. He was an amazing guy and a nice guy and a musician too. Yeah. And he was quite fascinated with. I had my djembe, and you had a guitar, and he was quite fascinated with what we were doing there. But of course, he's a classical musician, so and he loves the stringed instruments because they're made of wood.
Yep.
Trees, wood. Yep. You got it.
Exactly.
Anyway, we're hoping at some point to hear from Judy. We're going to get her on the air with us and have a little chat, and we really appreciate that because we've spent the last 15 years talking about Dr. Shigo on our garden show here. He's a major part. And right at the end of the show, we always have what we call our Shigo tree pithy points, which is the little sayings. He's got hundreds of them, and so we haven't gone through them by any means, the whole bunch. And some of them are very deep and horticultural-ish, and others are just humorous.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. We're going to take that. We're going to take our first break of the session here because we invite your calls. You can get in and talk to Ken and I today. 250-862-2525. If you got any concerns in your garden, anything going on, what you got some plans ahead of you, and where what you're going to plant this year. Just a little discussion. We always say it's kind of like sitting in the backyard talking over the back fence to your neighbor who's a gardener as well. And there we go. We'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden. We are back with you on a sunny Saturday morning, and it's a beautiful day out there, and we're going to go right to the phone lines here. We've got Henry joining us. Good morning, Henry.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
It is sunny here, too.
Oh, good.
Fabulous.
I have a major moss problem along the north side of a hedge where it gets shady, but seems the warm winter really excelled the growth of the green moss. What is the solution to all this?
Well, sometimes embracing the moss is what I do. It's green. It doesn't grow high and run all over the place. It's like one of my plants, really. Well, I'm just saying. I'm not trying to convert you into a moss lover. I mean, that's not what we're trying to do here. Yeah. But sometimes it's a losing battle trying to get rid of it. However, there are some materials. I mean, there's Safer's D-Moss, and there's others.
Yeah, those products are basically iron based, so they're some type of a ferric product, depending on the company. But they're applied over top of those areas, and it does kill off the moss. But you'll find that anywhere moss grows is where a lawn does not like to grow. So
well, that's what I'm afraid of. It's going to take over, and all I will have is a path for.
Well, what happens, moss grows through the winter. It's predominantly gets started like at the end of September, and it starts to ramp up, and it just loves growing through the winter. You see, it has no roots, right? So it needs to be in constant contact with moisture. So this is why usually clay soils or shady spots, that's where it'll live. And then it has to be constantly moist, and it'll just grow like mad as long as it's cool and moist. And then as it goes into spring, especially here in the Okanagan, as the temperatures increase, once you get into May, it's starting to kind of slow down. And when it starts to dry out more, then it actually goes dormant, and it'll just sit sort of dormant, unless it's really moist. But it'll sit dormant, and then the grass comes in, and the grass starts to move in a bit, and it takes it over a little bit. And they kind of do this give and take.
Yeah, but by the time the grass gets a good hold, it's already fall.
Yeah, and then exactly. But the grass likes it cool, too, but it doesn't like the shade. And that's the thing with grass.
Yeah, that's
So you can try selecting what's called shady turf seed, which are species.
Shady turf seed?
Yeah, it's seeds for your grass, for your lawn, for shady areas. It's a little bit better selection of varieties. But that being said, even those shady turf seeds don't like growing in the shade much either. So
when you think about it, Henry, if you go out in the bush, in the shady areas in the bush, there is no grass. The grass is out on the open meadows,
right? Yeah,
and
prairies,
grass just doesn't like growing in the shade. I even have moss growing in my artificial turf.
Yeah,
that's great. It's amazing.
So I remember a long time ago, people used to say put lime.
Well, in the Okanagan, it doesn't make sense to put too much lime on because we have a very chalky soil as it is. And so, raising the pH, sometimes, because the pH might be out of whack, you might need to acidify it a little bit maybe and see what happens there.
I see.
With some sulfur.
The lime thing, I think that's just a myth, actually, myself, because of the fact that our soils here are actually almost pure limestone, and yet the moss grows on it just fine.
So, that ornament, that little pagoda that I got from you, Ken, the concrete pagoda, moss is growing on that so nicely.
Ooh, nice.
And it's getting such a patina on there. So I'm not, as I say, Henry, we're not trying to turn you on to moss. But think about it as something that's not nearly as evil as wild morning glory or snake grass or
actual weeds.
Yeah.
It's kind of particular where it grows.
So it seems the solution is to get the climate for the grass to grow.
Yeah, that's it.
And remove that hedge. That would be
try some of that Safer's DMOS too. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to move on. We've got lots of people phoning in. And
thanks for calling.
Henry, thank you. Thank you for calling. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And now we have Dennis. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing today?
Excellent,
hey,
Dennis.
Good
to hear from you. I was thinking about you all week, actually.
Well, we went to the greenery yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the lineups weren't too bad. We were in the lineup for about 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I go there just to look because I don't think they'll have all what I want for and everything this time of the year.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. They had lots of perennials and what have you, and as you said, a lot of indoor plants.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I did notice while I was there, you were talking about Monstera deliciosa last week. You said they were difficult to get.
The variegated ones, the white ones.
They had a few there, about 2 or 3 foot tall on one of the counters.
Ooh, nice.
The variegated one? The one with 2 tones?
Monstera, no, it wasn't 2-tone, but it was a Monstera deliciosa.
That's right. Ken was highlighting the one that had variegated leaves, like 2-tone.
White stripes
in it.
Yeah, they're the one called Thai Constellation. They sell for about $700 or $800 a plant now.
No, this wasn't quite that expensive.
No, the green ones are okay, and they're such a great plant to grow indoors. They're one of these ones that it thrives in almost. It just loves to be around people, I think, is what it is. But
got to have some space for it too, though.
Yeah, they're cool plant.
But unfortunately, it's not very good for house plants. I used to have one in my last place, and it was about 7 foot tall with leaves about 3 or 4 times the size of my cupped hands type of thing. It was huge. I ended up having to give it away. I wasn't very happy.
Yeah, they get big.
Yeah. Anyway, I've got a question.
Yep.
Last year I was asking you about a problem I had with my potatoes, my main crop potatoes. They got they weren't eaten, but when I peel them, they got like brown spots on them. I dig the brown spots out, put them in water while I'm getting ready to cook them, and the brown spot comes back. And some of the brown spots literally go right through the potato. And you did say there was something missing in the soil. I can't remember what you said to put in the potato plot when I plant them. Can you remember?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things that you normally do put in, like sulfur is something that prevents the types of scab and fungus problems. Yeah. So I think you can still get a garden sulfur product, and you sprinkle that into the trench, and you put your potatoes in there, and that keeps the diseases under on track. But the insect problems, I think Don was talking about the flea beetle last year and about how they come in and they make like little channels, but then when you peel those off, sometimes those channels are deeper than what you see, and then they start to go brown afterwards after they're peeled.
No, this doesn't look anything like that. It just looks like a little stain. I just flick it off with the potato peeler and wash the potato, drop it in the pan ready to parboil and what have you. And it shows up. It is again.
Yeah.
It's a dark color, like almost gray to black.
Brown.
Brown, yeah.
Brown.
Well, I bought some potatoes not long ago and was peeling them, and there was a fair amount of that in these netted gems that I bought.
I wonder if it's like bitter pit.
It might be.
But with that in mind, the sulfur, not only does it, knock or hold back those diseases, but it also acidifies.
Yeah, and then your boron becomes more available and that sort of thing.
Yeah, boron and calcium, yeah. You bet.
So I just sprinkle a little layer along the trench before I drop the potatoes in?
Yep, and you follow the label directions, and it's really, it's been recommended, I know, in some areas, but for us here, it's a combination of the disease and the acidification, which releases those nutrients, because nutrient deficiency can show up similarly.
Yeah, I would suggest, if you want a kind of an idea of how much sulfur to use, no more than a tablespoon, or even a little less than a tablespoon in an area of 3-4 square feet. Okay, in your beds, you don't need very much sulfur. Don't need too much sulfur.
It's like when you put salt on your steak.
Yeah,
you just a little light shake. That's about it. But I follow the label directions, of course. Number one.
Yeah, sometimes on that Tiger 90, they give you the number of kilos per
100 square meters.
100 square meters, and it's kind of difficult.
It's hard.
So just a pinch or two, in your potatoes, but that doesn't take too much. Okay, Dennis?
Okay, thank you very much, guys.
Yep, good luck.
Giant, we appreciate your call, Dennis. Take care.
Talking to you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. 250-862-2525 to get through to us. Gisela, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
First, I have a linden tree. It's 16-year-old, but it's very tall. Can I top it off and cut the branches right off and then they will regrow? Or
you're wanting to root some branches off your linden?
Yes, because it's awful tall. And
I've never tried rooting linden. But, dear, lindens want to be big trees. If you look at the linden, the Tilia cordata linden, that is what Elaine Cameron used to call her lime tree.
Okay.
At Gushiken Gardens, at Gushiken, the restaurant, you look on the left-hand side, if you're facing Gushiken, the front entrance of Gushiken, and you look to the left of the home, that huge tree is a linden.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you may have a tree that wants to get bigger than you want it to. Now, when you use the word topping, of course, Ken and I both cringed.
Topping, and I said, cut some of the branches right off. Like I see trees topped right down and regrow, and I was hoping this tree would do the same thing for me.
Yeah, well, you can do that with willows and things. I've never tried it with lindens.
Okay, yeah. Because it is very tall and it's very, very messy. I mean, I can manage the leaves, but when the seeds falling.
The little flowers, yeah. Well,
I just cleaned it up a couple of days ago. The front was terrible, but it is clean.
So many times Elaine Cameron talks about those darn linden seeds or tea. She called it her lime tree, and she used to get so mad at it. But it is Other than that, they're a beautiful tree.
They are a beautiful tree. I do like them because originally we moved from Ontario. We had a tree in the backyard, but I don't think it had so much mess as this one has.
And they're very fragrant.
Messy,
when they're in bloom, they're quite fragrant.
And they're edible. The flowers are edible, and they make you can eat them right off the tree.
Teas, but you know,
Just
you don't have a truckload of flowers on this one.
Yeah, I would say be trimming up from the bottom more than cutting the top. It would be more important to just cut it up higher so you can work around it better.
Okay, so can you just cut the branches the end of it so it won't spread
Yeah, you can do it. I mean, you want to take one of Ken's or my pruning sessions to kind of get an idea of how to maintain the integrity of that tree.
Yeah.
You don't want to just top it. You want to be able to drop prune, take it down to an outward-facing branch.
They become dangerous once they're topped, and they often have to be removed shortly after they're topped.
Move the whole thing here,
You betcha.
Yeah, okay, I will leave this now, but I would like to ask, what about the grapes? Is it too early to spray?
It's a little early, but it's not going to hurt to spray now, your lime sulfur dormant oil. You can spray them now, but I want you to repeat that when the buds start to turn fuzzy and start to open. Then you hit them again.
Hit them again, because I usually do it like the 10th of March, because till then I'm in Mexico.
Yeah.
So I never ever did this early.
Yeah, it's usually not warm enough at this time of year, but it's pretty nice now.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt to hit them now and then hit them again, but don't just do the once. If you're going to do them now, don't just leave it at one. You should do later on.
How far apart? Maybe a month or a few weeks?
Well, if you did yours now, then you wait until those buds start to push, start to swell. Once those buds, and that's well into April before that happens.
Okay, I will do that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a nice day. Bye.
You too. Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, now, John, are we going to take Wendy now, or are we going to take a short break first? We'll take a break first? Yeah. We're going to take a short break, and then we will be back to talk to Wendy when we come back with more AM 1150 Garden. We are back with you on the AM 1150 Garden Show, and we've got a full switchboard here pretty much here. So, folks, we are going right to that switchboard, and we're going to do Wendy. Good morning, Wendy.
Good morning, guys.
Hey.
I was phoning to talk about the fact that Ken misses out on 3 out of every 4 years for the birthday thing.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you, dear.
We're going to celebrate him tomorrow.
Okay. Well, we were wondering about that because Maxine DeHart called in and wished him a happy birthday.
I know. I heard that. That was lovely, Maxine. Mm-hmm. We have another friend with one of those 29s. That's Dan Malinsky. So if he's listening, he misses out too.
Yeah.
One of those things. But I did want to just say to all the listeners who enjoy the radio show, and I know there's many of them out there, that if you enjoy the radio show, I really think you would also enjoy Ken's videos that are on Grower Coach on YouTube. So
there you go.
If you go to YouTube and type in Grower Coach, you're going to get a whole bunch of Ken's videos. And if you go down and hit subscribe, you will make his day. I'd like to see how many new subscriptions we get tomorrow and today for Ken's birthday.
Oh, that's sweet.
Beautiful.
Thank you, dear.
Okay, darling.
Thanks,
See you
Wendy.
later.
Yep. Take
Wendy,
care.
thanks
Love
for the call.
Bye-bye.
Great. That's great to hear from you. Okay.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Thank you.
And Wendy, then is Addie. Good morning, Addie.
Good morning, guys, and happy birthday, Ken. And if you don't watch it, you are going to catch up to Dawn, and that would be devastating.
That'd be hard to do.
I think I'm catching up. Thank you, Addie. That's very sweet.
Anyway, yes, Wendy. The YouTube is excellent. I watch it more so than I watch Dr. Phil.
Oh,
anyway,
there you go.
I brought in some of my bulbs that I planted last fall to force them into the house.
Oh, yes.
Now, during a day like today, shall I put them outside and then bring them in for the night?
They need to be, they should be outside more than anything. And what are they, like tulips and daffodils, that sort of thing?
Tulips and daffodils and hyacinths, like a whole variety of different bulbs.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what I'm doing, and Wendy, we're both doing this. It was Wendy's idea, and then so we're helping put the whole thing together. But we potted a whole bunch of bulbs up into like 2-gallon pots last fall, and we just put them out in an unheated garage, and they've been sitting out there all winter. So they're not quite shooting yet because in the garage it's shady and it's really cold. It's still freezing. So we're going to take them out now and just line them up facing sort of west along the side of the house, and we're just going to leave them out day and night because they're okay if they freeze at night. They actually like that. And then it'll help to keep them kind of short and they won't stretch. And we're going to let them come on and start blooming. And any ones we want to cut, we'll go and take some cut flowers. We might bring in a few pots if they look nice. But we'll ultimately, we want to see the existing tulips that we have bloom, and then we want to add them in. So we want to combine them a little bit so we get colors that work together. And so that's the game plan. So that just means you don't have to be moving them in or out. I think I would just put them out and leave them outside.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to bring mine out today, or I was going to take mine out today during the day. But if you're saying to leave them outside, then that's what I'll do.
Are they already shooting quite a bit, or?
Oh no, they're not. I just brought them in on Thursday. Thursday. So no, they're not. It's just they've just sort of gotten used to the warm, I think, and now I'm going to shove them outside. They won't be happy with me, but anyway.
Yeah, well, they really love the cool temperature, so I think they'll be okay. But just put them up sort of close to the house.
Okay. The other question is my orchid, like it's blooming profusely right now, which is fabulous. Do they like to be in the sun, in the direct sun, or would they like to be more so in the shade? Do they last longer if they're in the shade in a bright location?
Yeah, for sure. I would keep them partially protected. Like through the winter months, we can keep them right up close to the windows to give them good light. But then as the season extends and as we start getting these bright sunny days, we just move them just out of those rays of sunlight is just ideal. So near the window, but not in the rays of light.
Into direct light, so just a bright room.
Mm-hmm.
Super.
Yep.
Thank you very much. You enjoy your day today and tomorrow. You've got 2 days going for you, Ken.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Addie.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Okay, we've got Gerald. Good morning, Gerald.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to hear you fellas and enjoy your program for several years.
Now, is this my former high school teacher?
Yeah, it is.
There we go.
Yeah.
Nice to hear you,
Gerald. Boy, no problems.
No,
there.
I didn't get whipped. I know. Back in the day, when we were allowed whipping.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Ken, it's great to hear that it's your birthday. Do celebrate it.
Yeah, and, thanks, Joe.
Have a good time. It's always, I think, worth really appreciating one's birthdays because they come and go more quickly than you ever think.
They speed up a bit, I noticed.
They do. So I got a question about our kumquat plant, which is 10 years old.
Oh, good.
It's a very beautiful plant. We've enjoyed it in our sunroom for 10 years since we purchased it. Once in a while, the leaves get sticky, and when you look really closely with a glass, I think I see what looks like brown mite on the back side. And there might be a bit of scale in there as well. But what we've been doing so far is when we see that, we spray it with a liquid soap, a diluted liquid soap water solution. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you might suggest?
Well, soap can be effective, and of course, as Ken's often said, the timing is very important too, because there's a crawling stage that you want to address. The scale that you see on there, in particular with scale, is underneath that. Of course, are the eggs, and then they hatch into these crawlers. That crawl around.
And they look like little brown spider mites, actually.
And they look like little brown spider mites. So that's probably what you're seeing. You could have spider mite on there, but I think it's all to do with
citrus
scale.
mites. Yeah,
citrus. Now, look at, and I've mentioned this before, Gerald, that Wilson's horticultural oil. You want to try that. Wilson's horticultural oil. It's very similar to the dormant oil we use in the orchards and whatnot, but it's more refined, so it's and it has proper directions on the bottle, so you don't burn your plants. Wilson's horticultural oil.
Yeah.
Where do you purchase it, Don?
Well, at any garden center, we'll have that. It's still certainly available. It's not a toxic material.
No.
Yeah, it works physically, so it coats the plant, and the plant's okay with it, but the insects are not okay with it, and I'm sure it suffocates them, so it's more of a physical thing, yeah.
Well, we'll be making a venture out to find some of that Wilson's horticultural oil, because that's probably what we need.
And Gerald, you want to make sure. Actually, I should be calling you Mr. Geen, because we didn't call you we didn't call you Gerald in high school.
No, you didn't. But then again, I didn't call you Mr. Burnett either.
No, that's right. So anyway, you might want to take that plant outside on a nice day that's not cold, not too cold, to do that spraying, because you know the oil might be detrimental to some of your furniture, your floor, or whatever. You know, you may want to take it outside to do that.
Yeah.
And then plan on repeating it again. Like, it's about a 15 to 20 day repeat required, because there can be, remember that the female scale insect is just like a little bump on the bark somewhere, and you can't really see them sometimes. But underneath that little scale, there's a cluster of eggs, and they open and hatch at different times based on temperature. So so that's the problem, is sometimes you get them all, and then you get really good success, and then all of a sudden a week later you notice there's a bunch more coming back, and so you have to repeat it a couple times. And
that's no problem.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, fellas. That's really great news. And thank you for your years and years on the horticultural program, because you have a wide range of listeners. And,
thank you.
I try to listen every Saturday morning to you.
And thank you for what your family's doing in the cherry industry, too. You're doing a great job. Yep.
Yeah. Busy times right now coming up.
You betcha.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's no thought that this. Do you think this little cold snap is going to do any harm to some of the blocks?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Especially low down in the trees.
Yeah.
And climate as usual is always unpredictable.
That's right.
It's a challenge, yeah.
Gerald, there
is some damage, just to let you know. There is some damage, but relatively speaking, from what we see, it looks like it might be relatively minor.
Oh, good.
Oh, that would be good.
Gerald, thank you for the call. Always check in with us. We love to hear from you. Take care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take care, folks. Yep. Yeah, bye-bye.
Thanks, Gerald. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
You betcha. That's wonderful. You know, I remember all my high school teachers. You know that. Then we got Judy coming on. Judy. Good morning, Judy.
Good morning. I heard my name and my dad, Alex Shigo, spoken of here just a few minutes ago.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Go.
You called in. I'm so pleased. And, you know, we did meet. I don't know if we met so that we met in Victoria, and we met when we had the conference here, too. And, Ken and I just highlight Dr. Shigo every week, and we have a moment there where we read from his Tree Pithy Points book. He explained his Tree Pithy Points book to us at one point, and basically, from what I understand, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it was when he'd go in to speak at a conference or whatever, and he often spoke kind of off the cuff, and right before he'd speak, he'd think of something, and he'd write it down. And it was those things, those little writings that he used to create that book.
I did not hear him speak in public at conferences very often at all, but I do know that going through his papers, he always wrote with yellow pencil on yellow lined tablets. And there'd be writing, and then all of a sudden there'd be these little notes, and those are some of the ones that became the pithy points. They're just strewn here and there. Sometimes they're just little bits of paper tucked in. Sometimes they're just little comments that were part of something larger that he was writing, and they all got gathered up into that book.
Oh, isn't that fabulous?
You know, Judy, this is quite amazing, too, because when I met you, first of all, when your dad was still with us in Victoria, and then later we had that conference here after he'd passed, I recognized the fact that you had a very similar relationship with your dad as I've had with my dad over the years. And, you know, I get emotional talking about my dad, so I got to be careful. But, that relationship, father and son to father-daughter relationship is so important, and he was just a wonderful guy. And look at Judy. We've got to take a short break here. Can you hang on?
Yes, I will.
And we'll talk to you as soon as we get back from the break. And then we've also got Steve waiting for us. And Steve, just be patient. We're going to get to you, okay? And we'll be back with more AM 1150 Garden Show. Well, here we are, right close to the end of the show. We've got Judy Shigo on the line. Judy, it's such an honor to have you call in. We want to make this a little bit more. Ken was just saying, well, maybe she should call in quite often. But I want to hear, I want to have you call in when we've got enough time for you to explain your dad's career, how it went, because people obviously always wonder, who is this guy they talk about all the time? And
I know. And, you made one earlier comment about him and his music and said that he had a classical background. And I guess I would fine-tune that a bit to say that, yes, he did play classical music, but his favorite and what he played most was jazz. And he loved jazz.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's what, when he was a kid, he was a great big tall kid, and he used to play in burlesque places. People thought that he was old enough to be in these, and he was just part of the band as a kid in middle school and high school, being part of the music for some of these shows. It was a way that was sort of his after-school job.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. And a lot of great jazz musicians really are classically trained, because playing jazz, of course, is just stretching out and improvisation and that sort of thing. But the classical end of things, most jazz musicians have a classical background, yeah. That's really interesting, and we're just looking so forward to as long as you're with the program, we're looking forward to hearing more from you, Judy, because and we can I'd like to hear what got him interested in arboriculture, that kind of stuff. So we're going to go there.
I will call in on some other Saturdays then, and we'll have momentary bits and pieces of his history.
That sounds awesome. So what's going on now with the literature? Is it still accessible online, or?
Yes, there is a website. It's Shigo and Trees Associates.com. It's all written out. It's the AND. It's not the ampersand. And yes, when he was tired of doing the business end of things, 23 pallets worth of books moved cross country to where I am, and I have kept all of them reprinted, and they go out all over the world. Frequently.
Fabulous.
Well,
fabulous.
we can help. We can help move some of those books too, because I've got most of his books, and I really appreciate them still very much. They're so valuable to me. Now, where are you located, Judy?
I live just north of Seattle.
Oh, okay. You're in our.
Yeah. So when I went to Vancouver or Victoria or to Kelowna, it's just a drive.
Yeah. Great on.
That is cool. Well, that's great.
Times when you can go across the border, so one of these days soon.
Well, maybe we'll have you on the air live someday coming up when we can all travel a little bit more. And
all right.
Have you in the studio,
you can be our guest here, and you can even stay at our home and all that stuff. So just keep that in mind, Judy.
Okay. All right. I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Yeah, thanks so much for calling. It's awesome.
Okay. Bye-bye. Enjoy the sunshiny day today.
Oh, it's a beauty.
Sure will.
You betcha.
Thank you. Bye-bye. There you go.
And then we've got Steve. So Mr. Steve, the patient man, right there.
Well, you know me. I was once in radio. It's Stuntman Steve. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey,
good morning,
Steve. How's it going?
It goes great. I wouldn't wait for anybody else to wish him a happy birthday. Maybe Don, but happy birthday, Ken.
Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate that.
Well, you guys do a bang-up show, and it's nice to take that spotlight just a little away from Don for a little while and shine it on your pearlies.
Well, yeah. Well, the spotlight, when it hits me, it reflects off my head.
Off your head, yeah.
Between your head and my stomach, it looks the same. I just wanted to say, talking about food, you know I'm in the wine industry and tourist industry and retired from radio. And I got to tell you, post-COVID, it is so nice to hear wonderful things, not about the wineries, but also about the flowers and the vegetation. I can't tell you from people around the world, when I'm taking them out on a full day of wine tours, they're not only seeing the wineries and the lovely food from farm to table, which I also think the local chefs and the local farmers do a great job going into almost their 25th year, I think it is, of supporting farm to table. But they also are enjoying the vegetation, and they're also looking at the flowers and the trees. So you guys really helped educate and cultivate, no pun intended, to get people to spread the beauty and enjoy gardening and getting outdoors. And you know, Don and Ken, I wasn't much of a green thumb, but I'm coming along in my own way.
Well, we're proud of you, man. We talked previously about the ice wine situation. How did that go?
It's actually not too bad. I feel bad for the cherry farmers. I hope things playing out, because with that snap, which was so desperately needed, it was later on in the season. Where normally, so yes, the wineries I've been talking to have been picking, and they're basically wrapped up. For ice wine. So yeah, things are looking good as far as the harvest for ice wine. So to answer your question, but again, my heart does go out to the cherry farmers, because I know that snap kind of fooled them in the buds there a bit. But yeah, that's the way we live with our peaches, pears, plums, and cherries.
That's right.
And wine and everything else in between.
All weather related.
Happy birthday there, Ken. Enjoy yourself. Make sure you ask for that big birthday present. Ken, I understand, is building you a brand new greenhouse. Oops.
Yeah.
Sorry, Don. I blew the surprise.
There you go. I thought it was a BMW, but, well, it'll do.
Have a great day. Enjoy the sunshine, and thanks for your great support, because it is blooming across the Okanagan. So keep it going, guys.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Appreciate the call.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Stuntman Steve. There he is.
Yeah.
He's a legend. Now,
sure
we've
is.
got to say goodbye quickly here. We're going to say the tips of plants of the week and say goodbye. My tip of the week is it's perfect weather to do some early yard cleanup. However, as Ken has said many times, tiptoe through the tulips to avoid damaging emerging perennials. And plant of the week this week from me is saxifrage, the mossy saxifrages and various others. They're beautiful plants that are just starting to poke through or just green up now and do their blooming pretty soon.
Yep, beautiful plant. I also have a tip and a plant this week, and my tip of the week is to get your seeds nice and early. They're showing up now in the garden centers and at the in the hardware stores and whatnot. So get them while you can, get them early, and then you'll be good to go, and you'll get everything you need. Also, remember to tune in today. You can go to our website, growercoach.com. We've got a seminar coming on today, a webinar that is, on vegetable gardening. So it's everything you need to know about vegetable gardening, and check that out. That's at 3 o'clock today, so if you can get in before then, you can get signed up, and we'll send you the link. All right, my plant of the week this week is the Hamamelis mollis, which is witch hazel. It's the witch hazel plant. It's very cool and very interesting, and it's something that blooms very early. And I'm just wondering if they've been frozen or not from this cold snap, because they probably were blooming before that. So anyway, I would just like to say that. And so remember to check growercoach.com.
And I have a question for you.
Sure.
Which hazel was it?
I don't know which hazel it was. I kind of got tongue-tied on that a little bit.
My Shigo quote this week is, spiders were first on the web. There you go. That's a Shigo quote. We'll see you next week.
That's a good one.
With more AM 1150 Garden.